passage in the key of F up here, like 1, 2, 3, 5. Can you play that up there and have it be chill? Or do you have to be melting people's faces in order to play up there? I might want to reach out to the specialist on that instrument to be my collaborator on that arrangement if I'm the producer, you know. So that's, you know, so hopefully, you know, like this week we can get you signed on for like, yes, this is the tune that I'm going to be in charge of, and you can start thinking about your arranging, and then call on the resources within the group, you know, for assistance with that as you get that put together, so that when we get up to tracking the tune, you know, we've kind of pre-gamed what people are going to be doing with it when they sit down to lay the tracks.
Also, here's another thing, heads up, as you folks with your instrumental tracks and your practice mixes upload stuff to Dropbox, give us a heads up, like text Nick or text I and say, hey, I just uploaded this file up there, take a look at it. Okay, that will help us so it doesn't sneak in the back door like with Tyler's situation, that we don't let something sort of slide by because we didn't even know it existed in the first place. I mean, you know, we could think, well, maybe Tyler was afraid of putting something up, or he was busy, he was gone this week, or whatever. So let us know when you take action. For me, the best way is to phone me or text me. I get so many email messages that I'm afraid of losing some.
You know that text is my preferred medium if you're trying to get in touch with me.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. If you got a question, just feel free to, you know, call us or text us and ask the question, or, you know, we'll FaceTime you back or whatever. So I think before we go and do the next section, the assignments for the musicians, basically then to download the Tune 88 reference tracks, put them in your onboard file for Tune 88, and then upload it to your DAW. Start, you know, you've got the chart there. I sent you guys the charts. And
so John,
yes,
quick question there. So I've just looked for the Tune 88 stuff in Dropbox, and it's not here. Now I'm on my computer.
Okay,
and it might be that what I need to do is just reboot the computer after we sign off here, but they're not here.
Well, let me make sure that I've got them.
I got them, so I know they're up.
Okay, I'll just reboot my computer and hope that solves it.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't, Monica, let me know, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just accepted a Monica just like today, and I see him.
Yeah, there's an email you have to accept to see him, Monica. John sent 2 emails. He sent a folder to put the student tracks in as well. So make sure you accept. Everybody, make sure you accept both of those folders. They're in your email, okay? Or they should be. Check and make sure it's in your email. But there's a Tune 88 reference tracks folder that you got invited to, and there's a Tune 88 student tracks folder that you got invited to, and you're gonna need to accept those if you want them to show up.
So John, for some reason, I do not have that email.
Okay, well, let's check and see if you're on the list there. Tyler, I saw your tracks and I downloaded them into my DAW already, so they got through.
So Noah, what I'm going to do for you now that I got Tyler's tracks is I'm going to pull Tyler's track into my mix, and I'm going to set it at a nice level and maybe do a little bit of processing on it, and then I'm going to make MP3 bounces of Groove Merchant and Wave that are going to come your way as soon as I can get to it. That'll probably be this evening. I will put those up. Since they'll be MP3s, I also could just shortcut and just email it straight to you. But I'll put those up in the reference bounces, and then you'll be ready to go to it. I'll give you a hi sign on email and let you know that they're there and that you can download that MP3, put it into a session. It'll be a bounce with no bass on it. It'll be everybody else is in, right? And also, Roger and Monica, you guys are going to take the same. Oh yeah, we're going to do the comping first, right? So we're going to have we're going to have Noah respond harmonically to your comping, as I recall.
So is it go time? Which one are you talking about?
I guess I revised that. It's go time for Roger and Monica to add final comping on things, and then it's going to be go time for Noah.
For Groove Merchant?
For Groove Merchant, right.
Now,
So
I think
gonna
I've
send
done
you- I'm
that.
gonna send you a bounce.
I have done that and responded to Jason's trumpet solo and so
If
I
you
think I've
prefer
already,
not to do it, oh, that's right. You kind of preempted my order a little bit, which is fine, no big deal. I know it's well, we've been moving slow, and I understand the wanting to get going factor. Okay, so with Groove Merchant, we'll just keep Monica's keys, but Roger, I wanted you to comp guitar behind Monica's Rhodes solo. Because I took the piano out under her Rhodes. I think it would be great to have guitar comping when she's soloing on the other. But we took your Rhodes out too. But under her piano solo, I think guitar should comp there in Groove
So her
Merchant.
solo is there now for her to come.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make you a bounce that has the horns, guitar, solos, melodies, everything, the new drums,
Yeah.
and Monica's existing comping. You're going to add guitar comping to her solo, and then Noah's going to add bass to the whole thing.
Okay. So I'll wait for an email on to comp for that one, but
I
we're
will
all
give you
we're all
guys
a
a high
go.
sign. I will micromanage you this time, and John will micromanage us on Tune 88. But going forward, y'all are going to get your turn to be in this chair and be the director micromanager. Okay.
And then we're all a go to start recording the melodies for Tune 88.
Correct. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna toss a guitar track on that just for the heck of it, but ultimately your guitar track's gonna make the record, not mine. So and then and yeah, so I will tell you go via email when I put a bounce up there. I will tell you the precise location and name of the bounce, and you will download it and add your guitar. Send it back to me as quick as you can. I will make another bounce incorporating that guitar and send it to Noah. And Noah, I will let you know the exact location and name of the bounce, and then you will download it and add bass. And then Groove Merchant will be done. And I think we're going to have an open call for mixes on this one because there's no specific producer. So right now it'll just be like optional. Anybody who feels like it, go ahead and do a mix of this. And when you've done a mix, we'll put it up in student scratch mixes. And John and I will listen to it and give you some feedback. And then you can refine from there and send us in a final.
Yeah, that's the other thing I want to say is we want everybody to participate. So, like for instance, Noah, even though you're waiting for Tyler to put a drum track on something or other, you can put other parts on there too. Why don't you do a drum track? And same thing with Valerie. If you want to do a keyboard track, even though Monica's doing something, throw a track in there of you playing keyboards. It doesn't make any difference. You want to get in there and experiment and play. Because you won't learn anything by just sitting here and listening. I have to get my hands wet and actually do something before I remember like an idea or a process of how to do something. And you can always hit the erase button if you don't like what you did. I mean, that's the nice thing about this stuff, right?
And for that matter, there's no reason that we don't end up with two or three different mixes, renditions of these songs. At the end of the day, one of them might have they might have different combinations of the people who play the same instrument.
okay, now I need to ask a question at that point. So, I mean, it's great for you guys to say, oh, just experiment with it, but I need more direction on, well, what am I supposed to be? Okay, I'm looking at EQ. Nick gave us the four things, the bypass filters and the things for the drums. Now, so on drums, he did 4 bars. So great, 4 bars. Do I have to do 151 bars of drums, or do I do automate the whole thing?
No. You're just using that 4 bars to set your sound. Once you've got your, I just find it is useful to listen to a short segment of the performance on repeat while I'm setting the EQ. But once I've set the EQ, it's there on the whole track. It's not like you have to go. It's not like you're making now. The final stage of this mix is called automation, and that's where we make things change over time where necessary. For example, if I was doing a vocal part and maybe the singer spliced together a couple different vocal takes. One was a little bit closer to the mic, one was a little bit far back. Then I might ride that volume fader in the automation stage to just, okay, I need to turn her up a little bit there. I need to turn her down a little bit there to make it sound a little bit smoother and stuff. That's automation, and that's going to come last. But for right now, the only reason I looped 4 bars, and actually we might as well just, kind of go into it, because I didn't really finish my EQ talk last week. I'm going to continue that, But to answer your question quite specifically, in terms of your action point, like making a mix, is there's a progression of steps there, and right now we are up to like 4 or 5, right? And your action point at this point would be to pull the tracks in and follow those 4 or 5 steps to the best of your ability. And you'll probably come up with lots of good questions in the process of doing that. But in terms of the action point, it is like, okay, we recorded the stuff. That was step 1. And ideally, we recorded it well with good gain staging and stuff like that, right? Step 2 was to organize it visually in your session so it's easy to work with, right? Step 3 was, what was step?
Put the icons in, and then you do them. Then you start.
Step 2. That was step 2. Was step 3 to put the faders up, or step 3 to render the soft? I think step 3 was just to put the faders up, right? And put everything up in mono.
Faders and the silence.
And then, oh yeah, no. Step 3. My bad. I'm going backwards. Step 3 was to listen through each individual track and do your editing and trimming to clean it all up, right? That's a time-consuming step, but very worthwhile. And so it might be that, like, if I was doing a mix for a professional, situation, like a client, I would do that to every single track. I would listen to the length of the whole thing. I'd cut out around the audio. I'd put fades on either side of each little rectangle and just make it super clean and tidy. If you're just doing a scratch mix for class just to kind of practice your skills, that might be too time consuming to bother with. It's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to learn how to do. But honestly, that's the most time-consuming part of the whole thing. So you may or may not choose to do that step 3 to each track in its entirety. I would recommend practicing on it at least 1, right? Step 4 was to render your soft synths. Step 5 is we're going to put the faders up, and then we get to EQ, which is where we're at presently, right? So all those things right now as an action point, you can start, take one of these tunes and start going through those steps with it and just kind of listening. Okay, well, where does that put me now? How are things sounding? So in terms of but that thing about 4 bars, no, you don't need to go 4 bars by 4 bars through your entire mix. The only reason I was looping a short section is because I find it easier to kind of zone in on how I want to make that instrument sound by listening to a short section on repeat. And then I'm going to take that loop off, and I'm going to listen back through the whole track, and maybe I'll make some further adjustments from there as I hear other parts of the song. But mostly that looping thing is really just because it's easier for my ears to hear the same thing again and again as I make the adjustments and to hear this sort of.
But you would be doing that with each track, taking 4 bars or 8 bars or whatever of each track and applying EQ to each track.
Yep, pretty much. And as you get so just like when you were learning your first jazz standard and working out the chords, in the beginning, you're going really slow with that, right? You're like, oh, shoot, this voicing is like this. Oh, gosh, this voicing is like. But after you've, learned a few tunes, you start acquiring a new tune a lot faster, right? It's the same way with, like, applying, like, EQ and effects to things. Like, now, when I made something for my guitar classes. I did, like, a little gypsy swing version of Sweet Georgia Brown for my dudes in Florida to play along with. And, I tracked, edited, EQ'd, mixed, compressed, etc. Bounced that thing in like 1 hour. And it sounded pretty good. I was like, I did that in an hour. That was cool. It's just 2 guitars and an upright bass, But for me to go through these steps now and like do a mix on something, it is really not very time consuming for me to like pull in all your guys' tracks and put the faders up, kind of listen a little bit to the tracks, push around the EQ a little bit, slap a little compression on some things. I kind of know where I'm going because I've done it a bunch of times. So it's like any other musical skill that you've acquired is that, with repetition comes efficiency. So your action point right now is just to do it the first time. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of head scratching and be like, whoa, this is new. But by the time, and the idea of this class is that, you know, as Roger says, we become a well-oiled machine. By the 6th, 7th, 8th time you do it, you're like, you know, you're just cruising right through. You know, you've got to know your workflow and stuff, and now you've acquired the skill of you know.
Okay. Hey, can I move stuff a little further down the road here?
Yes,
So
yes,
back
yes.
to Roger. You know, when you're asking, is it okay, like on Tune 88, to record the melody? At the bottom here, under assignments on your agenda today, Nick and I set the dates for when these are due. Like the melodies are due on October 13th, drums are due on the 15th, comping chords is due on the 17th, bass is due on the 19th, rough mixes are due on the 24th, and the final mixes are due on the 28th. Okay? That's down in your assignments, and if you'd adhere to that schedule, that would be just super dandy. That would be wonderful.
Keep in mind too that those go in order. You know, like with the drums, you're waiting until the melody tracks are in and until we send you a bounce. You can start practicing the song and learning your part and working out what you want to do. But wait for that bounce that comes back with like the horns and the solos and that stuff is already on the track so that you can be playing interactively, you know, with those tracks, right? You will get a prompt that says, okay, time to go now.
Yeah, and also make sure that you start from the beginning of the tune. And we learned that with Tyler, is that always start from the left edge of the tune, from counter 1-1-0-0. Don't just follow one track. You know, follow when Nick makes bounces or I make bounces, like say of the horns, we're gonna bounce it with that thing in there. So when the horns start, you know, you want to start playing in bar 3, beginning of bar 3. So Tyler, when you hear that click track, you give it eight quarter notes and start playing, you know, your funk groove, and you'll hear it da 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 dum bum bum bum, right? And Noah, you can record a drum track too if you want to. Okay, so for the rest of this period, we can do a couple of different things. Nick and I were originally talking about splitting up into breakout rooms, and he would take one where people wanted to talk about EQing, learning more about EQing and processing with compression and tempo sync delays and those kinds of things. And then I would do a breakout room with people that want to work on, say, GarageBand or have any particular issues that they want to address for a half an hour, you know, like questions. Does anybody want to go to a breakout room with me to do that, or would you rather just spend the last part of the period here with Nick talking about EQing and processing and stuff like that?
Yep, I want to do some EQing.
Okay,
Same
so
here.
you want to stay in the main room?
Yes.
Anybody else want to go to a breakout room with me and have some questions? Valerie, you want to go to a breakout room? We talked about that the other day. You said you did.
We did, but if I'm the only one, it's okay, John. You maybe are better used out here.
No, it's okay. No, he can talk about that. I know about this stuff already. And I'm recording it. You know, you can watch the recording if you want to check out his thing. If you want to get some questions answered, we can go to the side room and talk about how you're doing on GarageBand.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so let's do that. So everybody else, if you don't want to go to the side room, you just stay here with Nick. And I'll set up the breakout room here for.
Okay, so I mean, I figure the best thing we could do right now is let's pull in Tyler's new drum track.
Are
Any
you doing
votes?
this for wave or for?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you guys feel like doing Wave or do you feel like doing Groove Merchant? Your pick. Any votes? A show of cartoon hands. Where's my? Oh, here's my reaction.
Okay,
Hi.
good. I'm going to record.